Hi everyone. Today markets did sell off a little bit off of this key resistance. They ended up gapping down and falling into the open and then ended up falling into this 591.80 area, filled some of these gaps previously. This is the hourly chart, but we'll look at that later. Filled those gaps, caught a bit of a bounce here into the end of the session. Volume did come in on the rally, which is interesting. So let's take a quick look at the charts as we head into the weekend. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at fear and greed. Fear and greed stepped down to a 34 from a 35, not moving a whole lot, even with the step down on momentum here today. Strength, extremely bearish here with extreme fear. Again, continuing to go lower. It's as low as we've seen it in a long time, certainly over the last calendar year. Breadth starting to tick up a little bit more over the last couple days. That's interesting. And then looking at the put call ratio, pulled back here to regular greed, interesting. And then volatility spiked up a little bit, but not a whole lot. We'll look at that later. And then safe haven demand pulled back into neutral. Junk bonds still sitting in regular fear. Overall, markets are a little bit mixed. Interesting to see the major indicators in fear, but we'll take a look at it on the short time frames. It actually looks a little bit bullish to me. Looking at max pain here, max pain was 599, stock price 595. So we ended up falling a little bit. 590 was the put wall. We ended up sitting in that 595 area. I think that's what I was talking about yesterday, if I remember correctly. Put call ratio did fall down to a 1. Interesting to see that falling as markets went a little bit lower. Usually you see puts coming in as markets falling, but saw a little bit of a decrease there on the week after options expiration, but continues to be relevant. Big call walls at 605 and 600, finished below those, kind of a mid-range finish. Top of the puts would have been 603, so not a super bullish finish. Moving over to the charts, quick look before we head into the weekend video. You can see it was down about 1% on the day. We talked about it yesterday on the hourly, hit this major trend on the Tuesday, touched it again Thursday, and then we ended up falling here into the Friday. 1% could have been a lot worse. It was down much more. At the mid-session, it was down about double that much, more than 1.5%. You can see it was down 1.77 at one point. That was the low, and then we ended up finishing at 1%. So a little bit of a bounce here. And really what I wanted to highlight was the 15-minute chart. This was a great setup into the end of the session. You can see broke through the 21, retested the 21, ended up getting back above it and rallying into the close. That's a good setup. Huge volume coming to the upside. Everything says this should get a little bit more upswing here into the 597.85 area. Maybe we get a gap fill and then we get a bigger breakdown. But for right now, short term, very short term, potentially 1 to 2 trading sessions, looking for a little bit of bullishness into this area. 599.64 is the level, and then you have 598.20 as the trend, and then of course all of these EMAs in here. Momentum did step down to bearish, and in the medium term, the structure is still not great with the bearish momentum. And then you can see the RSI breakdown, retest, breakdown, not great. Usually this means we're going to go a little bit lower, but short-term structure, like I said, on the hourly looks good. Moving over to the NASDAQ, very similar on the price action, 1.33% down on the day. To the low, it was about 2 and almost 2.25, just short of 2.25. Momentum back to bearish, RSI stepping down, interesting. But like I said, this is the 15-minute chart. Broke through, retest 21 EMA, rallied into the close, looks very good there. Big bullish candle, all of the volume pretty much for the day was on that bullish candle, and you can see that's coming off of very oversold conditions here. We got down to a 9 on the RSI. Usually that's a pretty good time to be buying, at least for a short-term move, which we ended up getting. You can see 518.79 all the way up to the 523 area. In terms of levels, 526.50 is your resistance. Want to see this 21 continue to hold in that short-term trading. And then looking at that hourly chart just for a moment, you can see this was the structure we were watching yesterday. Hit this, sold off, made sense, hit the trend, bounced from there, makes sense. Like I said, short term, look for the push here. Probably going to see a lower high setup, and if it does, this is going to be pretty catastrophic from there. So we'll see. Right now, short-term bullish. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, similar thesis here as well. The Russell was down 1.5%. The Dow was down 0.74. Momentum on these still not super great. RSI is still breaking down from the SMA, so interesting there. Trend line gapped below it, retested it, sold off a little bit on the Dow. Not great. Otherwise, looking at the Russell, this looks like a higher low setup. Still in the same consolidation. Tested the 221.49 level. Held that level on a closing basis. Saw the rally into the end of the session just like everything else. And that says to me this should be a nice little buying opportunity. Look for the retracement up to the 21 EMA on the daily, which would give you a push into that 232.50 area. Moving over to the Mag 7. Mag 7 continued the sell off here as well. 2% down on the day. Momentum bearish. RSI breaking down. Volume starting to ramp on that, which is interesting. Got the touch of the 21 EMA. Saw a bounce from there. Again, it was much lower at the mid session. Overall down over 3% at one point to finish at that 2% level. VWAP 21. Those need to hold. If we close below them, that's going to be a major breakdown. And then your next level is the 55 all the way down at 300. So to the 21 EMA, about 1%. If you get the break, you're looking at about 7.5%. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple finally selling off a little bit. We've had a couple of days like this, did touch the 9 and then bounce a little bit from there, but 1.3% in line with the NASDAQ selling off. Breaking down on momentum and RSI, everything says maybe a little bit overbought here, starting to get a little bit more selling. 21 EMA is down at 247.88. And then looking at Microsoft, broke down right to the 144, hit the 55 as well, touched those EMAs, caught a bit of a bounce, closed above 429.88. If it closes below 429.88, that's when I'm going to be looking for a bigger push back down into the 413 range. Right now, we're back into this consolidation range after the fake out breakout here. Still been watching this as a long-term consolidation. So far, it's been holding up well. Maybe this is where we start to see a bit of a change with the fake out breakdown here. Get a little bit of a slight bounce from those consolidated EMAs, lower high setup, bigger sell off from there. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish, volume ramping. Everything says a little bit bearish here in the short term, but of course on the very short term, you can see that same kind of setup on the 21 EMA. It's one of my favorites. Breakout here, 21 EMA test, continuation higher off of big volume. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla down nearly 5%, NVIDIA down 2%. We've been watching this structure. We talked about it yesterday. We said this NVIDIA rally is probably done after yesterday's, and then we got a little bit more selling here today. Hit a couple of EMAs, held the 9 at the 134.80 area. But all of the indicators still say pretty bearish. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish on Tesla. Momentum stepping down to bearish for the first time on NVIDIA. It's been stepping to bullish since the 19th. Continued through the 26th, and now we got to step down here on the 27th. RSI looks a little bit more mixed. It is downtrending, but we are currently above the SMA, which is interesting. So we'll see how that plays. Could pull back, hold the SMA, and then bounce. Definitely more mixed signals on NVIDIA, but the price action still looks bearish. Moving over to Amazon and Google, you can see some lower high setups here, selling off from there. Got the 21 EMA for Amazon sitting at 222.81. Touched that level and held. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. And then you got Google off of its big quantum move. You can see big ramp here. Now you have a bit of a topping pattern. 193.31 is the level. Touched that level today, held the bounce. Momentum stepping down, RSI stepping down. So short term, looks like some pullbacks are in the works, especially with this lower high setup now. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, you can see staples was down about 0.5%, discretionaries 1.65%, momentum bearish here on discretionaries. Staples still holding up, momentum swinging to bullish there, still holding the level 78.88. Again, showing a little bit of a risk off environment with staples holding some levels and discretionaries looking like it's going to sell back down to the trends in here around 225. Moving over to oil and gas and utilities, some of the better producing sectors here. You can see negative 0.29 on utilities, holding up above that 75.47 level. Momentum stepping to bullish, RSI stepping to bullish, continuing to hold here, higher low setup. This continues to look pretty good. It's had a big sell off from 82 down to this level, but now it looks like we're going to be holding some structure in here. And then you got oil and gas, one of the only positive sectors for the day, 0.16 on the day, momentum bullish, still holding above this 127.99 level. You can see critical level there, marks many bottoms, getting back above it, which should give you a little bit of short-term relief up to that 135.07 area in my opinion. I would be looking for a push into here, 21 EMA, as well as VWAP in that area. Short-term looks pretty bullish, again, similar to utilities, pretty big sell-off here of about 15%, looks extended, looking for about a rally of about half of that in the short term. Moving over to Breadth. Breadth continues to go higher here, got a gap, a little bit of a doji, but momentum swinging to bullish, RSI swinging to bullish on both of these. Everything continues to look pretty good here on Breadth. We'll take a look at today's Breadth in the weekend video, but so far, so good. Everything continues to look short-term bullish on Breadth after being very oversold. Moving over to the dollar here on the hourly and the daily. Dollar turning negative on the day, 0.04. Did not close below that 108 area, but you can see we did definitely test it. Dipped down here, got back above it on a closing basis. Friday hasn't closed. You have about 2 hours left there, but right now it's holding. Momentum a little bit bullish, RSI a little bit bullish. I'd be looking for just a little bit more swing to the upside, so I would expect it to close above that level. Momentum still fading, RSI still looking for that touch. I think we'll get that within the next day or two. And then we'll see if the dollar craters here over the next couple days, back down to the 21, maybe back down to some of these wick highs. That should give equities a little bit of room to the upside for a 1 to 2 day rally, in my opinion. Moving over to the VIX, big wick high to that 18.5 area. We definitely talked about that zone yesterday. Is it going to continue here over the next coming days? Could be. You can see this trend that we set up yesterday. A couple of touches in here, came back right to that level. Got the bounce into the Thursday, bounce into the Friday. We'll see if we get a little bit more bearish into here, or if this is a wick and we're going to kind of resume back down to this trend, maybe get a bit of a break in there. Certainly a possibility. With the big wick here, big wick again, lower high, we'll see. Right now, you have to assume we could get a little bit more bounce, in my opinion. Moving over to my accounts, I actually did fairly well on the day considering how much markets were down. You can see about 200 in the IRA account with the Russell being down over $3, so that should have been a little bit bigger loss, but I was able to mitigate that. And then looking at the Qs, $7 down, only $600 in that account, so still in good position there. Losing less than half of what the markets actually ended up losing on the day. Again, jumped into that 21 EMA setup, got a good little chunk back on the end of the session. Looking for a little bit more rally there. Still sold a call against it at 524. Realistically, probably could have rolled this down a little bit. 523 might have made sense. Got a $1.50 credit on those. It is already in a slight losing position, but obviously I have room there for it to rally until I'm actually losing money on that at expiration. So I have room there. Looking for a little bit more rally into the Monday, or at least sideways choppy action from here. As long as that 21 EMA holds, I will definitely continue to trade to the bull side off of that setup. And then same here on the Russell. Put this back on at the end of the session. I was a little bit late on the Russell trade, but not too bad. And then I sold the 223 for 84 cents, which is up just a smidgen after hours. That's why this isn't a small loser. But again, you have about 50 cents until that's an actual loser, and then you got 84 cents of credit on that. So realistically, that's looking for about a $1.20 profit, or around $120 for the Monday session. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of markets today with the big sell. We did get what we expected, but that bounce into the end of the session with volume, did you end up trying to trade that? What are you looking for into the Monday? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.